Hello and welcome back to another Adobe Live. Happy Thursday. We're all smiling because Rufus just like came in a very dramatic entrance, fashionably late. We love it, but we all made it. We're super excited to have you here again on our lunch break with UK Creatives. And today we have lovely Julia who's joining us for a very requested session on dimension. And we're super excited to dive into that. So yeah, how's everyone doing?
Hey, Emma. Hi, Julia. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Wonderful Thursday today, or day. I think this is stream 38 from the sofa, I think, or 37, I don't know. But anyway, we're here every day with you, the creative community. I see a lot of chatter in the chat already. And remember, if you're watching this on YouTube, hop on over to behance.net/live and follow us here, because that's where we read the chat. And the real benefit of watching this live is that you can ask questions as we go along. So it doesn't hurt to be here. And here's Emma, and here's Julia.
Yeah,
hey.
With the effect. I love Rufus is like, which, you know, it's a really awkward moment where you go, here. We're lost. We're really going nuts, guys. The end of the week is approaching, but what a way to wrap up. So Julia, introduce yourself. We've been talking way too much already.
Well, thank you guys for having me here. I'm Julia, a product designer. I'm currently doing my MA in Design Innovation and Brand Management at the University for the Creative Arts in Epsom here in the UK. I've been working as a product designer after my undergraduate graduation in 2014. So I have like 6.5 years of work experience before I decided to go and do my MA, and that's what I'm doing at the moment. So back in January, we had this amazing course from Steph, who did some of the previous live streams here on design thinking and Adobe XD. And she introduced me to Adobe Dimension because as a 3D and product designer, I was using a lot of 3D software and doing a lot of work in the 3D workspace. So I started working with Adobe Dimension and Adobe XD as well. So, for me, it is like with the university, we use different kind of software than I was used to. So we were using SolidWorks back at work, and now at university we use 3D Studio Max and Cinema 4D. And of course, it's always a bit difficult to learn a new 3D software. So I was really happy that Steph introduced me to Dimension because it is really intuitive and I love working with it, and I can implement it in my workflow really well. Yeah, and so I'm going to show you like a basic design for a POS display on today's session.
That's great, but maybe I've missed it. But what's your MA focus?
The focus is on, so it is MA Design, Innovation and Brand Management. It's at the Business School for the Creative Arts here at UCA Epsom. Mm-hmm. The course is focusing on design, innovation as well as brand management. So for me, it's like perfect to broaden my skill set after having the engineering and industrial design background, getting a little bit more of the business kind of aspects to it.
Mm-hmm. That's actually great, because I remember like in a pure design school, this is really what's missing. It's like the sense of the business side of things, the technical side of things mostly missing as well. So I think it's great that, you know, that as a creative person, you've also chosen to go into that more technical and business oriented kind of learning. Great stuff.
Yeah, so back from my undergraduate, this was the main reason I decided to do it. We had mechanical engineering as well as industrial design. So it's like the perfect combination when I studied back in the Netherlands. And now I just wanted to have like maybe building my own business in the future or going freelance. You need to have like more of the management and business perspective to everything. So this was like my call to do my MA after like quit working. And I made this decision because I really needed to broaden my skill set and I wanted to move on in my career.
Wow, how hardworking already. That's amazing and very, yeah, inspiring. I think you also just finished your exams, right? Or you had a couple of deadlines to wrap up, because we wanted to see you even sooner. I was, like dropping you an email because everyone's been requesting, a bit of a dimension insight. And I know you're going to be sharing some great things today. And you had actually a lot on. So I'm really grateful to have you.
Yeah, so we have another deadline tomorrow, but
you do. I didn't even know
it's all fine. Yeah, one Tuesday, one on Friday.
Wow, good luck with them. And everyone in the chat is already saying dimension. So we're seeing a lot of it, a lot of excitement. Yeah, and it's going to go a bit technical. Some people have no idea what dimension is. So we'll really start from the basics and walk you through. I mean, I'm saying we, Julia, you're the master of this. So
I'll give them
go ahead. And I can see you have your Behance open. So maybe we can go through a bit of that already.
But maybe the project that excited you most and why.
Yeah.
The project that excited me most was definitely my bachelor thesis, where I had this amazing collaboration with a design agency back in Germany to develop a train seat, like a lightweight train seat. Yeah, that is like my favorite project, but also I loved, after my graduation, working in retail design, and this is what I'm going to show you today. So I'm just like going in there. Give me a sec. So back at my first job at Code Brand Design, we did like all these kind of retail design things for Mattel. So like playing areas, shelving and display units, all these kind of things you can see here on the screen for Barbie. And it was an amazing time because we had the opportunity to be so creative with all the stuff we put out. And I absolutely loved it. And this is like, as you can see, we all did it in 3D renderings, and this is done in SolidWorks. Yeah, and I just like love like creating these virtual spaces as a designer. So this is what we're going to do today in Adobe Dimension, building a display for products that can be displayed in a supermarket.
All right, let's do it.
So I'll show you a picture of what we're going to do. So this is what I prepared for today. It's going to be a display, a standalone display with 2 rotating cubes on top. It says stay home and drink tea, according to our lockdown situation. So it's basically 3 boxes, getting a little door here and the products on the inside.
That's nice, because you're also thinking not only about showcasing the product, but also about storing the product that's just waiting to be put up there. Yeah, I like it.
So this is the Adobe Dimension interface. We can start here. So we have the toolbar on the left. We just have to move here, and we have all the attributes on the right. So it is really, really straightforward and very intuitive. You have the workspace here. You have a grid. You can get rid of the grid if you don't want it, but I usually have it because I really like it. And then we have like simple kind of shapes. We have models from the Adobe library, and you can always like use Adobe Stock to get more. Then you have standard materials, all different kinds of soft materials, and colors and substance materials. And then you can adjust lights, you can adjust the scenery, and have all these kind of presets here you can use.
So the thing you mentioned about the substance materials, that's actually really interesting. This is an acquisition that Adobe did recently, well, in the past years. And that's a really interesting company that's really specializing in 3D textures and things like that. And some of these textures you can download for free and use in Adobe Dimension. And of course, if you need more complex textures, you can also buy them directly through the Creative Cloud from Substance. So that's pretty cool.
Okay, so we start our display with this hollow cube here on the left. You just click on it and it magically appears in the middle. Now we see on the right here, we have the dimensions of the cube itself, scaling, the rotation, and the position. And the anchor point could be placed like on the bottom, on the top, or in the middle. I just leave it as it is right now. So we start with like just go through the basics. With the mouse, you have the wheel, the left click, and the right click. So if you left click is selecting objects, the wheel zooms in and out. Clicking the wheel is panning the surface, and the right click rotates everything. So pretty basic, really cool, easy. What you also can do, what is really helpful, is use the same commands as in every other Adobe program. So if you click Alt, you can duplicate stuff. Shift aligns it, like basic. Really, really cool that it's really intuitive. That's what I love about it. So I'm going to rotate this cube. So we have the opening space facing us. And if you click Shift, it's going to snap at 90 degrees. And then you click here and you can adjust it to the bottom layer. Basic cube. So what we do next is we adjust the dimensions for this cube. So this is going to be the footer part of our display. So we need it to be a bit higher, and of course a bit wider. So we adjust the X to 50, the Y to 50, and the Z to 80. And then we have this bigger cube here. Just bring it back up. And this is basically our base for the display. The next thing we do is, so what I showed you in the picture, we have two rotating cubes on top. Therefore, we need to build the pipes for the middle. I do this by just using a basic cylinder. Just have it here, bring it up, and adjust the sizing as well. So it gets like 5 centimeters here, 5 on the Y, and 5 on the Z. So it's like really small. I mean, we could make it a bit bigger. That's nice if it's 10. Oh, wrong one, of course. Of course.
It's becoming like second nature to think in the X, Y, Z axes and stuff like that.
I'm like the clumsiest person, so I'm always getting confused about it. It's normal. And then what you can do is you select both with Shift, both objects, and press A, and then you have the align tools. So you can basically align these things to each other. And if you then look from the top, it's perfectly aligned to the middle. And then we just move it down onto our cube. Double check, looking good. So this is the base. What I do now is Control G for group it, so it stays. And then I create another cube. Doing the same here, I rotate it around 90 degrees. And adjust the sizing. And you can lock the proportions here. So if you wanted to stay the same at all times, you just lock the proportions. And as you can see, it is not perfectly in the middle. So we have to align this one as well with our group. And now it should be perfectly in the middle. Yeah. So this is what I really love about the program, is that you can prototype really quickly. So I can now just like ungroup this one, Control Shift G, select the cube, select the little rotation pipe, and then press Alt and just move it up. And I'm going to change the dimensions of the upper cube now that it's a tiny bit smaller. And place it on top of this one. And it is not yet perfectly set. So we group everything except for the cube on the top. So because then the other parts won't like mess it up. And then we align this one as well. And then we have our basic structure for the display. So really easy. I just save it that if my computer dies.
Lessons learned.
Lessons learned. Yeah, always save the document. So what we're now going to do is we're going to put a door on our little bottom space here. So we're doing this by just selecting a normal cube, putting it out here. And you can also like move the object just by like dragging it somewhere, but it varies on where your camera lies, so where the camera sits. It just moves somewhere like really weird if you just like drag it somewhere. You always have to bear that in mind. So that's why I'm always like using the arrows to adjust my models. And what you can do is like you can scale things. If you shift and scale it, it scales the whole thing, or you can just simply scale the part itself. So I can just like put this one up, make it a bit thinner, so it's like a door, and then make it wider. And pull it up in front, see where it needs adjustments.
In the meantime, we have Tony in the chat who's joining us. He'll be back tomorrow. We had some couple of issues last week with the streaming situation, so we're very excited to see Tony coming back. Thanks for joining us and answering some questions in the chat as well. In the meantime, guys, whoever's joining now, we're doing a dimension session, and we've had already a couple people mentioning Discord afterwards already. So yes, we're also on Discord where the conversation continues, and hopefully, Julia, you'll join us as well if there are any additional questions. Tim just put the link in the chat.
So we put in our little door here. Just like scale it a bit thinner and put it out. And now we need hinges and a doorknob so we can actually open it. I do this by there's this pill here. So I just use this one. It's like really, so you can basically build everything you need from these basic shapes, and that's what I love about the program is it's really, really easy to use. I just scale it down, make it a bit longer, and then I can just place it where I want it.
Yeah, and on Adobe Stock, there's a lot of also free 3D models that you can download into Dimension and use directly, like things that are already made.
Yeah, that's perfect.
But like you say, Julia, it's everything that is built in 3D is really mostly built from basic shapes. So so most of the things you need are already there to build something even a little bit more complex. And it's great to see your workflow just doing that.
It's just like I try to like reduce everything I build to like the most basic thing. I mean, if you build something physically, you have to use basic materials as well. You don't have ready shapes, so you're building basically everything from scratch. So you can do the same thing in the 3D environment. And for the doorknob, I just duplicate this one and then rotate it around 90 degrees and place it where I want it to be. Maybe a bit here, and make it a little bit shorter so that it doesn't look too long. So now we have our base for the display. Pretty simple. What we're going to do next is we're going to do the materials. As you saw in my picture, I decided that we have like a wooden body and like a bright middle cube. So I just like ungroup everything. So I can just like pick all the different kind of objects. So I start with the little hinges here. Just by clicking shift, you can just like add everything to your selection you need. And I choose this one. And I'm going to apply a metal for this. So now you can see it all changed into the right decal for the metal. I use the wood. Where's the wood on the left here? This one. It's like a dark wood. Yeah. The same I will use for the door as well as the. Oh, it's dying. Oh no, is it dying? Or is it? Huh. It's just a bit slow. So we have applied the wooden shapes. So it could be like a cool, like these old like wooden baskets you would find on farmers markets. And then this, we apply a basic plastic to it. And then we can adjust the color. Oh, wait, it's wrong. It's going to be this one. And then we can, on the right, we can adjust the colors here. So I'm picking like a bright blue green like this.
And Julia, we have some comments in the chat saying your dimensions in German.
Yeah, I know.
it took a couple people a little bit of time to be like, I don't have this on my screen.
Sorry.
Julia is German, by the way. It's not just an extra challenge that she's giving herself.
How's it going so far, Julia? How's it going so far?
Good.
Good?
Good. Under control.
I think we're on time.
Hello.
So this is basically the appearances for our display, and we're moving to applying stickers and decals next. So we have, if we select one object, we can see in the toolbar on the right, this one, it says apply sticker or like place graphic on model, translated to English. And then it opens up the folder you need. You can have this one. I made the presets as PNGs and TIFFs in Adobe Illustrator or Photoshop. You can use whatever you want. And you can also edit the TIFFs right within Dimension. So Dimension opens up Photoshop so you can edit it, and then just like in InDesign, it replaces the link. So this is really, really helpful, and it saved me a lot of times now. So I'm putting one of the graphics on the side. I just choose the stay home and drink tea one. Oh, and this is also something it does. You always have to face the face you want to use. So this basically got wrong. Click on like view the side of the display you want to apply the sticker to, choose the sticker, and then it does it perfectly. Right, just place it in the middle. So you can scale it with Shift. You can rotate everything, so it's very, very straightforward. And then if you go to the cube itself, you have the menu here. You have the elements of the scene in here, and you can click on that little arrow on the right, and then it shows you the material you're using, the color you're using, and the graphic you're using. So you can click on the graphic here. I could go on that, and then if I say edit, it would open up Photoshop so I can edit it. And then I'll just apply more graphics to my display with all my presets.
Yeah, that's probably just a rendering.
Yeah, it's a bug.
Yeah.
Tiny little bug sometimes happen.
That's so cool that you can put stickers on any material that you've chosen. Yeah,
on any, and that's really cool. So also in the presets bar over here, you have all these kind of different like bags and notebooks, parcels. We're going to use the coffee bag later for placing products, and you can customize them to any color you want and to any material you want, and also apply all these stickers, logo, and decals to it. So this is a very, very useful function. Then I'm going to apply the decals to my bottom shelf, just select it. And with the with the simple shapes up here, they have these tools that you can adjust them. So before you can place stickers on them, you have to convert them to a standard model by just like clicking the little cube, and then it gives you automatically the option to place a graphic on it. I'll just take.
And Cameron's asking, can you export from Fusion and import into Dimension? Yes, you can. Like, you can open any OBJ in Dimension, right?
Julia's focused.
Sorry, yeah.
She's got lost.
Dimension, you can import any kind of OBJ, right?
You can import the OBJ files, yeah.
And any other supported files? Maybe I don't know. But anyway, that's something. The workflow between 3D programs and Dimension is really transparent. And
so I usually always work with the OBJ or STL files, and I was able to open them in Dimension without any problem.
Oh, so Tim says OBJ, FBX, STL, SKP, GLF, GLTF, GLB, USD. Okay, whatever, Tim, you show off, you. And you can export out of Dimension as DN, OBJ, GLTF, and GLB. Yep. So just a little bit of background here for Adobe Dimension. This is really an application that we've developed for designers that that don't necessarily have the time or the need to go deep into a 3D application like Cinema 4D, for example. And for those of you who might not know, Cinema 4D Lite is actually included when you install After Effects, because there's a really cool workflow from After Effects to Cinema 4D and back. So if you have installed After Effects on your machine, you already have Cinema 4D Lite on your machine. So if you want to play with that, that's a pretty cool way to start. But Dimension, of course, is our solution for those people who might not have the time or the need to learn a 3D application and to actually do things in the third dimension. And as we can see today with Julia, it's all very intuitive. It's all very easy to use, and I just love how you picked it up, Julia, and are actually creating a very complex shape.
Yeah, this is like what I've been saying earlier. I really love that it's so intuitive, and you can just like work with all these shapes and create something very quickly and visualize it. So for me, this is always a big part of my design workflow. So if I work with clients, if you work with some companies, most of the employees can't imagine from a 2D sketch how it will actually look. And also if you talk to suppliers, if you talk to the people who supply materials and who build these things, if you just show them a sketch, many of them look at it like, and what about this and what about that? But if you have a 3D model instead to show them, it's like, you can just like, any computer can open it with the pre-installed 3D viewer. So they can just like, you can just send them a file and they can open it, they can rotate it, they cannot like modify it, but they can see what you want them to see, and you can show them exactly how it should look in the end. And that often helps with the communication in the process, and it speeds things up a little. So we now have our basic display. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open the door a little bit. So I'm just like selecting the hinges, the doorknob and the door. I'm going to group them. And then I'm going to, not the whole thing. Oh, I accidentally grouped the wrong thing. I need the door.
We have Sammy saying, oh my God, I work in exhibitions and have never heard of Dimension. It would make my life so much easier and much more professional.
It does. It does. It is really. I really like enjoy the workflow doing it. Why does it select the door? Now select it. This one, door. So we're going to rotate the door a little bit. As it rotates around its own axis, you have to pull it out a little bit. So the hinges are back in their normal place.
And everybody in the chat, just wait until we get into the rendering part as well, because that's amazing as well.
So this is our basic display. I'm going to rotate this one and just to show. You should rotate from center. So if you click here on the right, where you want the point of gravity of the object, you click on center, and then it rotates from the center. So this is really easy to use. So now we have our rotating tops. We have the open door, and the last step before we go to rendering is placing some products in there. I've chosen to use this this coffee bag. Where is it? There it is. It's like really natural, like you would find tea in any shop, and then you can just apply another logo to it. So I made this chamomile tea logo. Make it a bit smaller.
This is so wonderful. You're actually building a world.
yeah, you can like build whole scenes in it. And it is like
better version of The Sims.
Yeah, it's like
I would get very hooked on this.
I really enjoyed it. It's just like really therapeutic in some way. Just like building things and imagining it.
Yeah, and like Jonathan said, 30 minutes and created a 3D mockup. Not bad, is it? No. That's right, Jonathan.
So now what we do is just like we just duplicate them. Just like both, and then no. So we have 4 bags in here. And we can also use like these little, so this is like a square, where is it there? Square box, it's also a preset. What we can do is find the paper, there's the paper. We can just apply paper to it. So now it's, and then we face the right side of it. And apply the label again.
So satisfying, huh, Emma? to watch this happening in front of our eyes.
I love it. This creating process, great. We were long overdue this, Julia, so you're mind-blowing.
And Simon is saying, wanted to jump into graphic design for a long time. This looks very interesting. Yeah, it definitely opens up a whole new world of possibilities. You know, and it's part of the Creative Cloud. And that's what I always say, you know, you might not necessarily need all the applications in the Creative Cloud, but sometimes you do. And Dimension is one of those examples that, oh, maybe I need to make a 3D mockup. I need to see how a 3D object casts light and things like that, and study it like that. Or use glass and study reflection or refraction and see how light moves through glass, for example. Using just a 3D software like Dimension.
Yeah, and the cool thing is that it's so compatible with all the other applications. So you basically can work in Illustrator, in InDesign, or in Photoshop, creating all the graphics in advance. If you know your dimensions, you just like set the dimensions of the decals itself at the same sizing, and then you just like put them on there. What I've been doing here with this one. So we have our basic model now done. We have the product on the top. We have this little storage space. it has all its decals, or they're still sticking out a bit. So you can also select everything here in the menu. I'll just pull it up a bit from the front. Oh,
Caroline is saying it's amazing how quickly Julia has done this.
Well, I love 3D design, so it's
and the other really cool thing is that if you import like a background picture to it, Dimension recognizes the perspective of the picture and puts the object into the right perspective, and basically casts shadows and everything on a picture that you might import. But what Julia is going to show is even more interesting and crazy.
So for like normal renderings, I always use a white background, so I could like actually Photoshop it in the right picture. So if I take a picture, then I would, for example, of a supermarket or a store, when we did stores, I would take a picture, then create a model and just like rotate the model so it would fit the picture. So I can use the actual scene as a preset for people to show. That's why I always do like white renderings. It's just like my kind of workflow. So on the left now, if we start to go into rendering, we have different kind of perspectives, of course, we can render from. I just set here on the top, you can, so we have a render preview here. I hope it doesn't crash my computer.
Crossing fingers.
Crossing fingers. Is it dying already? No, it doesn't work right now. So we said we can like put like save cameras in here. I just click add, and then you have like a new camera. So we say this is like the front view, for example. Then we rotate it to the other side, add another camera, side. And you can always like click on it, and then it will automatically go back to the cameras you've preset. And then so you have all these kind of different presets on the left, which lights to use. I always use the softbox one because I really, and like it has like a soft light to it, and it makes it easier to put shadows in afterwards in Photoshop if you have to put your rendering into an actual picture.
And these things are really like studio lights, and you have to think about them as like a sphere of light in around your 3D model. And in this case, Julia chose the soft boxes, so it's a soft light. It's going to be soft shadows, and so on. If you want to place a 3D object in nature, there's ones with reflections of trees.
Yeah, for example, this one.
Of skies and things like that. So you can choose the right light right away. Mm-hmm.
So I'll go for the softbox. Wait,
yeah.
And save it.
Well, Sandrine, you can use pre-made shapes in Dimension, yes, but you can also create shapes in a 3D application and import them into Dimension. But like Julia just showed, most objects, most things that we create to put our graphics on are actually based on very simple shapes, like cylinders and squares, and not squares, cubes. Talking 3D. And so on. So yeah, I think it's a very, very good starting point.
And I think that jumped onto Ian's question that was just a little bit earlier, who is asking, creating 3D objects such as bottles, would you need a specific shape and size? What's the best method, program, and setup?
Mm-hmm. In Semen, yes, this software is available in all countries. It's part of the Creative Cloud, your Creative Cloud subscription. You can find it in your Creative Cloud app.
So just set another camera. So we have now 3 basic cameras, and then we can switch to the render mode in here. You have all your preset cameras on the right. I would go for, let's go for the first one. And then you can here enter the name for the file you want to export. You can preset the quality as in like slow, medium, or high. I just put it on medium. I don't want it. So you have the option of Photoshop 16-bit or 32-bit channel, or as a PNG. I'll just export it as a PNG. Just change this. No, it's perfect. And then you just click render and wait and enjoy what it does. I just hope it doesn't die.
I'm still crossing my fingers, by the way. Okay, so now
10 minutes.
It starts tracing it.
Yay!
Started,
Ooh.
yeah. And it goes in phases, no? It's
Yeah.
what is it called, this rendering technique, Tim? I think it's ray tracing. That's what I was gonna say. So basically, ray tracing is like a beam of light going over the and tracing it in lines, and it's becoming more clearer and clearer.
I think it takes up to like a minute or two to do like the medium one.
So are you like now have you ever started in Adobe Dimension and then exported it to a 3D program and continued there, or
as we don't have all the resources, so we could basically have all the resources available with the online subscriptions we have at university, but I don't have them on my work laptop. So, and I don't think my computer has enough RAM to handle all that. So I would basically go to the university, use the university's computers over there because they're really, really good. But I haven't exported it in any of the other programs so far. But I think it won't be a problem. As it's like, if you like stick to, it is really basic and basic shapes. So all of the other 3D programs will be able to recognize these files.
So Jonathan had a question. Let me see if I can see. Okay, only the whole, wait, the question is like split up in many questions. So like I'm not gonna try to interpret the last one. If those flower well, he's asking if these flower could be glossy, and yes, you can actually add gloss to surfaces, no?
So I think you can add gloss to surfaces. So as you see, like the middle cube is like a glossy plastic, and the flowers definitely will be. I don't know if you can adjust glossiness just on the decal, because if you have like the wooden surface beneath it, it definitely would be like a matte finish rather than a glossy finish.
And can this be taken into After Effects? Does anyone know? I think you can export as OBJ from Dimension and then import it into After Effects. Yes. And another function that has been added to Dimension in the past weeks is now you can even create your own 3D text on the fly using any font you want and create those. And that's a nice workflow also to bring to After Effects to have it like the 3D object that you can then move the camera around and do that. The possibilities are really endless. I don't think there is a direct link from Dimension to After Effects right now, but I'm sure this is something the teams are thinking about, how to make that link better.
Okay, our rendering is finished.
Oh.
All done.
Yes.
Success. So this is basically a very easy like rendering process, and we're moving on to my little highlight now.
Yes.
So the amazing thing you can do with your Dimension files is you can go to a file and export, and then you can export it to Aero, Adobe Aero, the virtual reality app for your mobile phone. and I prepared this little video.
This is when it gets super fun. I'm so excited.
So yesterday, unfortunately, my iPhone is not the newest version, so it doesn't have a lot of RAM. So I had to get rid of the products for this. I went food shopping, and I put the little display in the supermarket environment. So as you can see, as you can see here, it's placed around one of these columns. And I made this little video, but it was like very, very crammed in there, so I had to pause the video.
This is the future, though. You'll have everyone standing around with their phones, so you're, you know, just ahead of time, just a little bit.
Yeah, and this is just like such a cool function that you can just like so export it to Adobe Aero, then drop it in your Creative Cloud files and open it with the Aero app, and you just like scan the ground. So Aero finds a plane where it can put on the model, and then you can just load in the model into your camera environment, and then you can take pictures and these little videos just like walking around it and like size them, rotate them, and it's just like really, really cool to give people an overview what it could look like in the actual environment in the end.
Yes, and these things, of course, are also shareable from Aero, so you can actually send a link to people and they can place their own thing into their store, for example, and check, oh, that would fit. That is so cool. I'm having so much fun with Adobe Aero right now, like just placing stuff, and you can also place animated stuff, and also animate some of the objects while using Aero, like they bounce or things like that, or they appear. Yeah, Aero is definitely it's a pretty recent addition to the Creative Cloud, but I think this interaction between Dimension and Aero is really game changing, and like I said, like a few days back, I just tried to use the new text tool in Adobe Dimension and extrude it, give it a material and the lights and everything, and then used it in Aero to put like a huge text into my garden and walk around it. Or you can create a whole environment, like a little maze or labyrinth in Dimension with very tall walls, and then in your Aero you place it there, and then you try to find the exit. I mean, you know, okay, I'm
getting excited. This is where your sleepless nights go. No, it's brilliant, and I wonder how many of you at home can also can go through this process and this workflow, and start playing around and go all the way to the Aero experience, because I think you can have a lot of fun, and suddenly it's been a couple hours and you've just worked through this whole process. So yeah, it's a huge push to start testing that out. What else? What do we have saying in the chat? Everyone's excited. My mind is blown again.
Again.
Again, yeah, it's like
on the sofa. Yeah. Never misses.
This has been a big week. Yeah.
Yeah. And like Tim also reiterated in the chat, Adobe Stock has a lot of 3D models already that you can use with Dimension, and then remember, from Dimension you go to Aero, or you can go back to Photoshop, or there's also these images, for example, that you can use as a background. We can see it on the screen here, on Julia's screen. So basically, there's tables or things like that, exactly. And basically, if you then render it, you can actually tell that a Dimension to actually understand the perspective of the picture, and so it'll find the right position for the 3D object. And then when you render that, all the shadows will actually be on that image. It's pretty cool.
Some questions in the chat. So we had Lucas was saying, if I have a Creative Cloud subscription, would I be able to get Adobe apps on my phone?
Yes, of course.
Yes, of course.
So that is, of course, part of your subscription, and you just download the apps from the App Store or the Play Store, and you sign in with your Adobe ID, and you're done. And everything you do on your mobile devices is then shared back to the Creative Cloud, and you can use that on your desktop computer or on other mobile devices. And yeah, and that's really the magic of Creative Cloud, this interconnectivity between apps, between devices, and your creativity everywhere, really.
Yep. We have Steve who's saying, errors fun. I imported some plastic dinosaurs into a scene where my cat was sleeping. It looked really cool.
There you go.
I think this is a social distancing boredom that's being fixed as well.
Yeah, there's also this amazing armadillo. You can like have it roll around on the floor.
Yes, that's right, Tim. Not every app, of course, is available as a mobile app. There are mobile apps. I mean, you know, if you tell me, so I can use InDesign on my iPhone, no, you can't. It doesn't work that way. But there are a lot of mobile apps that are already in the stores, in the App Store and the Play Store.
Yeah, and like Tim said, Dimension, for example, is desktop only.
Yes.
Oof, questions.
And not yet. Okay. Ian Sayer said, not yet. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Ian must know something I don't know.
Yeah. We have Jan saying that would be a great feature request. I mean, everyone's just chipping in. This is great.
Yeah.
The chat is fast today. Oh, guys, yes. And Tim is saying again, join on Discord because you can carry on chatting about this and give it a try the next kind of couple of hours and get back to us.
Do you have any examples on your Behance, Julia, of things that you've done with Dimension and that?
No, not yet. Not yet.
Going ahead of yourself.
Yeah, no, I just like the thing is I usually create, like when I do these things on my profile, I create like this whole kind of world that comes with it. So I'm just not putting things out there, but putting it into a context. So I really need to do that, like put it in a real project I could be working on. But I do like these. So I do. I can show you something. I'll just save it. I do this for my final project. I want to do this kind of brand box thing where you can get. It's right here where you can like have my whole my project outcome, my project. So the brand guidelines and the little movie I hopefully can create as soon as lockdown gets lifted. It's just loading. So I can just like do mock-ups of what I want to submit as like my final project as like a physical outcome. And then you have like the drawer, and you have like the top you can flip up and then have the movie on the inside, and all the kind of like books and things I created for my final project on the inside. Wow, that is so important, right? I mean, when you finish a study, like to present the portfolio, to present. Oh wow, I love it how you close that.
yeah. It looks so smooth.
It's just like pretty basic, but as we're talking about, like this is so easy to just like do the mock-ups for everything. Just, like,
and Harry is asking, has lockdown affected your studies at uni and in any way?
Yes. I hate it. And so we have digital classes, and I hate digital classes because I'm like a really like practical person, so I need to build things and I need to see people. And for me it's just like sitting at home, not really meeting up with my classmates, and basically only digital interaction, and it's kind of hard for me. And also like
and Corey,
it affects the situation on the job market a lot. So when we graduate in September, this year, we have this situation with the coronavirus going on and affecting the economy and as well as the creative industry. So I think most of my classmates are really worried about like finding a job and what to do after this, as am I. Because for me, for example, I've been working the past years and I decided to quit my job to do my MA, and now I'm stuck here in lockdown. So it's a bit ironic.
Yeah, and that answers this question. He was asking if you were freelance. and what your kind of situation is at the moment. And this actually reminds me that we talked a couple of weeks back about the Creative Fund as well. And I think this is a great moment to, you know, if you're sitting at home and you have some projects that you kind of had to put a standstill on, or, you know, you've been a student, and, you know, you're questioning a little bit the future for the next couple of months and beyond. I hope we can share the link to that, but you can apply for funding. Adobe's released $1 million globally to support creatives at home. The only requirement is that you have to be 18 plus, but if you're watching and this is of interest, then do have a look at the link. And
and there's two ways we actually support the creative community. One is if you have an idea of something that you want to make, you can present that idea and we can fund between $500 and $5,000 to that idea. Or if you simply need the funds because you're going through a rough patch and you need the funds, you can apply for the funds as well, always between $500 and $5,000. And we will actually, as Adobe, hook you up with a project for that sum. So it's a very good way of there's two easy ways to get that creative residency community fund activated. So yeah, make sure to check it out.
Yep, get your portfolio together, send that over. There's an application process, and you can hear back, I think, in 90 days or so. So yeah, really exciting. And I think there was also a comment by Tim about, you know, a couple of people posting on Discord. He was saying that we can provide feedback, and, you know, if you guys are interested in having portfolio reviews and kind of feedback on these streams, let us know, because we'd love to get that started and see some of your work for everyone who's watching as well, and review that.
And Tim also mentions correctly, it's not only that we give we give out the fund, but whoever is selected also gets the Creative Cloud.
Little plus.
Yeah.
So you can test dimension, arrow,
test dimension.
go wild.
Oh yeah.
It keeps on going. Wow, everyone's super active. Oh, please check out my work. Great, awesome.
Gaston, please post that link over on Discord. We have a special Discord for our UK community, and yes, make sure to post that link there too. And people will surely react to it, and we will also have a look at it. Very good. Yeah, the chat was very, very fast today, Emma.
It was incredible. Yeah.
In Adobe Dimension. And Julia, thank you so much for giving us like a run through, like starting from nothing, getting to there, like in a very short amount of time. And I think this is exactly what we had hoped for Adobe Dimension, like an easy entry level application for you to start dabbling with 3D and have that in context, either on an image or like Julia did with Adobe Dimension, and go to the local supermarket and place it there and film it. I think there is so much opportunity there, and augmented reality will become increasingly important in the coming years. So this is definitely something that I invite everybody here to at least have a look at, to understand how it works. So go download Adobe Aero on your mobile devices and try it out, because it's a lot of fun and it has a lot of future.
Absolutely. And Julia, any final words? Thank you so much for your time today, because this was just mind-blowing, as everyone said, and everyone's been really excited. Again, just such a great turnout from you guys on the chat, so it's really exciting to see. But Julia, anything else you wanted to mention before we wrap up?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. Thank you for having me here. And I can just like really recommend Adobe Dimension and Adobe Aero. Just go try it out. I really love working with it. It's easy, it's intuitive, and it just fits perfectly into every workflow. So go and give it a try.
Yeah, and I also want to thank Stephanie for recommending you. And I think that was really great. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
and
you,
we're back
guys.
Tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Tomorrow with Tony.
Yeah, exactly. Right. The Tony Harmer Show, it will happen. Whatever YouTube decides to do, we're going to make it happen. And we want to see all of you guys there. So 12 to 1 on your lunch break, we'll be there. So see you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.